under the Window menu, and it's here. The keyboard shortcut is Shift F8. The project panel allows us to create and manage complicated projects, and it's especially useful when you're working as part of a team where different people are working on different aspects of a project at the same time. Each member of the team can check in and check out, and it's a lot easier to organize things this way. Now, to start with, we're going to need to create a new project. So I'll click here, and in my projects folder, I'll call this one project2.flp for Flash project. Okay, now that we have our empty project, we're now going to have to put some files in it. And you can do this in one of two ways. You can either click the Add Files to Project button down here at the bottom and browse for some files. I'll just pick one of these. Or, in a currently open document, on a PC you can right-click in the document window and choose Add to Project. For a Macintosh, that would be Control-click. Okay, so now we have two documents in there. Let's add a folder and start organizing. Hit the Add Folder to Project button here. Give the folder a name. And now you can drag documents into or out of the folder. Well, that's simple enough. Now, if we wanted to, we could publish or test this project. But every project needs a starting point. In this case, we need to set one of these files as a default. And if we hit Test Project, Flash will remind us of this. Test Project requires that a file be marked as the default document. Would you like to select one now? Hit Select, and we're presented with a list of the documents currently in this project. So I'm going to pick panels.fla and hit OK. A little bit of processing happens, and then the panels.fla is exported as an SWF, and we can preview it here. When we return, notice that the icon for panels.fla has changed because we've set this to be the default document. Now there are no new options up here in the Options menu, so let's have a look at these two buttons over here. We'll start with the right one. This one's labeled Version Control. Select that. We can check out and check in, and undo checkout, refresh the status of a project, and also edit sites. Now what's this? Let's click this. Much of the content we create in Flash is destined to eventually end up on a website somewhere, and this is where we manage all of our sites. Let's create a new one. We're sent to the Site Definition dialog box where we give it a name. I'll call this one VTC1, and we have to choose a local root. Now what this is the root folder of the local version of the website. Now, we're comparing local to remote. Remote server once you've finally uploaded it, but the local root is where all of your working files are sitting on your hard drive. So let's go in there. I've put it in my projects folder. Next, drop in an email. I'll drop in rick@vtc.com. And incidentally, throughout this course, if you have questions, you're welcome to let me know. And drop in a checkout name. Now, we have a drop-down box called Connection. And this is where we specify the settings for uploading our files to the web server. If we're just dropping it in a local folder or somewhere on the network, we can choose this one and then specify a remote directory. But if we're using FTP, we can put the details of the FTP host in here, the name, directory, and your username and password. You can also test this to make sure that you've dropped in the right information. Or you can use Microsoft Visual Source Safe. Alright, let's hit the Go button. And because I already have another site specified, Flash will tell us that the root folder I've just specified, that's this one here, the local root, overlaps with another site. I don't really mind, so I'm going to hit OK. And anytime you like, using the Edit Sites dialog, you can choose the site and go back and edit its properties. Okay, so now we have a site set up. Let's have a look at the second button here. This one's labeled Project. Well, from here we can open a new project, or create a new project, open an existing one, or close this one. We can also rename stuff, and if we have a missing file, say somebody inadvertently moved a file, we can find it using the dialog here. We can also publish and test our projects, add a folder, add a file, and remove a folder or a file. And finally, we have settings. Under version control, we can select the site that we just created, and Flash gives us a directory structure for our project. Now this is where we apply publishing profiles to each one of our documents. We can apply different ones to different documents, and we select saved profiles here. Now of course we only have default, and to finish up this lesson I'm going to very briefly show you where we create these profiles. We're going to cover this more in depth later on in the course when we look at publishing, but for now choose File and Publish Settings. Up here at the top we have a profile drop down, and we can make whatever changes we like in these dialogues and then save the profile so that we can use it later. And in the case of the project panel, we can return to settings and then apply different exporting profiles or publish profiles to each one of our documents. And that takes care of the project panel.